This video is disturbing. It talks about death, torture, people taking their own life. Your discretion is advised. Located down a desolate gravel track in the Wimmera region of Victoria, Australia, is the lonely ruins of a long abandoned pig farm once belonging to a happily married Christian couple. The terror that took place in the house over 4 hellish days in 1993 made international headlines and shook Australia to its core. Having sat empty for over 20 years, this unassuming derelict house was once a place of torture, torment, fanatic rituals, deprivation, destruction, and death. This was the Vollmer residence. Hello viewers, welcome to the video. Obviously a bit of a somberer, more serious video today. This video was filmed in 2018. The house is actually demolished now, but the story that it tells is very much interesting and worth discussing. So I thought I would release the video. I thought I'd write a little speech about what happened and the history and this, that, and the other, but honestly, some of the news articles that have been written about the very grim history of this house, they just do a better job of anything I would have done. So I'm just going to read you the Herald Sun's retrospective look on just the horror, pretty much, of what took place in this house, the aftermath, just everything. So I'm going to read you the Herald Sun. This is from December the 15th, 2018. So honestly, around the time I filmed this video. So it's all sort of coming together at the same time. All right, let's now jump into the Herald Sun article and discover what happened. Pig farmer Ralph Vollmer had first noticed his wife Joan was behaving strangely a few weeks before he decided to stage the violent 4-day exorcism that led to her death. Joan had taken to lurching and dancing around outside, arms flailing about her head, swearing loudly at nobody in particular. Soon after, Ralph claimed she was acting like a prostitute, and at various times took on the physical form of a pig and a dog, as well as the personality of a sheep shearer. There were manifestations of different people and animals, he later explained. Ralph and Joan Vollmer lived in Antwerp, a small Victorian town 356 kilometres northwest of Melbourne, with a population of just 63 residents. It was settled in 1846 by Europeans. By 1859, 2 Protestant missionaries had built a church and a mission for the local Aboriginal community. The church is long closed, but religion was still the pulse of the town in January 1993, when Joan took her final tortured breath, aged 49. A number of fundamentalist Christians lived in and around the township, and it was they that Ralph called upon to rescue his wife from her dark possession. At first, he attempted to rid her of these demons himself by locking her in the basement, then, when that was unsuccessful, tying her to the bed. Joan screamed throughout the night, however, and the demons remained. Ralph Vollmer then enlisted the help of his neighbour, Leanne Batch. I'm sorry, just can't read that. And the two of them received over-the-phone coaching from a 78-year-old spiritual leader, Lee Clugson, on how to best rid a human of evil spirits. After they ascertained that 10 separate demons were indeed in control of Joan's body, they started an intense prayer session, with Joan seated in a chair at one end of the room. When she struggled, they tied her to this chair with pairs of her own stockings. This room, I believe, was the kitchen. So when we see footage of that, think about that. She was denied food and water throughout this entire period, and when she attempted to close her eyes, they pried them open so the demons would better confront the Lord. Joan continued to put up a violent struggle, and so the pair called in another member of the church, 28-year-old David Klinger. Again, I'm so bad at reading these people's last names. He took the lead and restrained her with more pairs of stockings. He started to slap her face repeatedly in order to summon the demons. After 3 days of such torture, the group felt they had rid Joan of all but 2 stubborn demons, 2 strong male evil spirits, as Ralph Vollmer later said. To eliminate these final demons, on day 4, they brought in 23-year-old Matthew Nuske. Nuske came highly recommended by his mother, who touted his God-given ability to exorcise demons, despite having never done so before. Convinced, they handed control of Joan, or as Ralph now saw her, an evil spirit that needed to be dealt with, over to Nuske, and he amped up proceedings. First, he instructed the group to destroy all of Joan's possessions, including knocking down her garden beds and smashing an outside greenhouse with a hammer. These were also possessed by demon energy. Next, he wrapped cling wrap around the entire outside of the house 7 times to act as protection from further spirits drawn by all the activity. From then, things got exceedingly violent, with Nuske beating Joan repeatedly across the head, smashing her into the wall and instructing members to sit on her weakened, food-deprived body as she begged them to stop. They moved her body into the bedroom for one final exorcism. Finally, the demon was removed. The group of 5 started at her stomach and crushed her internal organs, moving their weight up her body in order to squeeze the demon up and out of her mouth. The enormous pressure placed on her neck caused Joan to begin having a heart attack. When they finally released the hold on her, she was hissing and frothing, and they came out with a groan, Ralph Vollmer said of the demons. In reality, what was happening was the pressure applied to her neck was so intense her thyroid cartilage had been fractured, causing her to suffer a fatal heart attack. Joan Vollmer died after 4 days of torture, and she was slumped to the ground. The group rejoiced and waited for her resurrection. The group had waited and prayed over Joan's dead body for 2 days, when Leah Cuglinson arrived at the farmhouse where the exorcism had taken place. The 78-year-old had given early phone advice to the group on how best to proceed, and had herself received word from the Lord shortly after Joan's death that she would place her hands on the bloated, quickly decaying body and order Joan to rise and walk. When this failed to rouse her, Cuglinson called a local Baptist minister for guidance. He arrived to find the group calmly eating lunch while Joan's body laid in the 40-degree heat being attacked by flies. The minister phoned a doctor to the farmhouse, who in turn called the police. There's like a little title here, Resurrection and Arrests. God has made a solemn promise that she will rise on the day of the funeral, and he wants us to witness it, a chirpy Ralph Vollmer told AAP journalists in the days following his wife's death. Interviews with the police went a similar way, with the group assuring them it had been a successful exorcism and that Joan would vouch for this upon her return. On the Friday, just 4 days after the police had became aware of Joan's body, Ralph invited media to her funeral to witness her resurrection. When she failed to materialize, he wept, confused and angry. Detective Superintendent Paul Sheridan told the Herald Sun the group believed they were doing the right thing in trying to exorcise demons. Lest he be misunderstood, Sheridan quickly added, "They weren't innocent and they certainly weren't doing the right thing," explaining how they openly discussed the methods used in the exorcism to the police. Police charged the 4, Vollmer, Nuske, Reichenbach and Klinger, with manslaughter. Despite their open confessions and detailed descriptions to the police, Leanne Reichenbach got the heaviest sentence, a paltry 4 months for manslaughter and false imprisonment. David Klinger received 3 months for the same charges, while Matthew Nuske was found guilty of false imprisonment and received a suspended sentence. Ralph Vollmer, who orchestrated his wife's torture and death, was convicted of false imprisonment and reckless injury. He also received a suspended sentence and served no jail time. He soon left the farmhouse and the small town where Joan had died and moved to Queensland to live in bliss with his new wife. All right, so that's the news article. It's a bit brief. I've left some other links in the description if you guys want to do some more research after watching this video as to what happened. There's an amazing podcast I've linked down there. It really goes into a lot of detail. Yeah, I found some sort of conflicting information on the internet. So I'm kind of slightly confused, but I think what I told you is the gist, at least, whether some names have been forgotten or that. But yeah, I think you get the idea of the horrible events that once took place. Well, in this very room, it was in this kitchen, and throughout this whole house. So it's terrifying. And yeah, as I said, the house has now been demolished, so I think that's probably the best thing. Yeah, the house was sold twice, and after the incident, and no one ever lived in it. So obviously that's why it's in a state of decay, and it looks like people have been stripping anything useful out of it, but no one actually wants to live in the house itself. Understandably so. You know, hey, it's not like it's a super historic sort of house. It's sort of just a generic sort of 1940s house. It's got a few nice little trim pieces and cornicing, but it's not, kind of worth keeping around, considering the horrible stuff that took place. And yeah, on that note, I should probably mention, because no, they didn't say it in the news article. As I said, it was quite brief. I recommend checking out that podcast. It's probably the best thing if you want to learn about it. That Joan actually, previously, before the whole incident that led to her exorcism and thus death, she had suffered from mental illness. She had a history of mental illness. I believe she was schizophrenic, and she had depression. I think she had something else as well, but obviously she wasn't, firing in all cylinders. And she'd previously been admitted to a mental hospital, and they thought they released her. And yeah, this whole incident, I believe, happened about 2 years later. So obviously she was just relapsing and having more symptoms, and she needed to go to get professional psychological help. But that obviously didn't happen. I believe she didn't want to go back to the mental hospital, and Ralph didn't want to take her there either. So I guess they're trying to fix her into his own hands with what he believed in. So obviously, well, we know how that ended. It was not very well. But yeah, very, very grim. So yeah, these bedrooms in the house, I don't know which bedroom was which, like in terms of where she was tied to the bed and so forth. But there's not much left at this point. I don't know how many people have been through the house. You could tell a lot of people have been through here. As you saw at the start of the video, someone had recently dumped like an ox's heart in there. So obviously people are coming here to do satanic rituals and crazy stuff like that. But yeah, there wasn't any graffiti or anything, so it can't be too crazy. It's not too many people coming in here, but yeah, I wanted to thoroughly document the house. As you can see, I found like a Smarties wrapper and stuff, and things like that. All the remnants sort of, I wouldn't say any later than the early 90s, 90s-ish, which makes sense, because that's sort of when the house was abandoned. Like, Ralph did live here a few years later after the whole incident, but then he packed up and went to Queensland, as the news article said. But yeah, we've filmed this video. We were on this farm for about 4 hours. So I got a lot of footage, and because I want to thoroughly document this, because no one's actually properly documented this house, and I'm very glad that I did, because it's now completely demolished, and I haven't seen any other footage of it. I've seen like a handful of photos on Flickr from like 6 years ago, but I've thoroughly, I'm glad I thoroughly documented it. I think I can go over the top sometimes, but it's sort of why I go over the top, just because sometimes I'm the only one who does it. So it's important to document stuff like this. Like going back to Joan and her mental illness, like, she had like a very troubled upbringing. I'm just going to leave it that way. A lot of horrible things happened to her as a child and as a young adult. And her first husband, because I think Ralph was her second husband, her first husband took his own life. And then after that, Joan got very depressed and had a whole host of mental issues. But Ralph knew that. But, again, decided that exorcism was the way to go. which is regrettable to say the least. Anyway, so now we are heading away from the main house to the couple's former pig farm. I don't know if this facility was there when they bought the house in the late 80s, but yeah, they were pig farmers. That was their occupation. That's what they did on the farm. And yeah, it's just been completely trashed. I don't know. I'm assuming this is wind that has completely blown down the structure. I'm not too sure what is left of this today. Because this video is like 5 years old or something like that. So time of releasing this. So it looks very, very different today. The main house is like completely gone, but this on satellite view at least looks like maybe there's some foundation remnants, like the concrete might still be there. But anyway, you can see all the little stalls where the pigs would have lived. And it was kind of fascinating having a look around here because I've never actually been in a pig farm. So, and you can see, I don't know if this is like really nerdy, you could see on that feeder thing, I don't know if we have another look at it, but you could see in the feeder thing there was like all that, the scuffing there, and it's all rusted. That's probably from where the pigs' noses were like scraping against it, and all the paint went away as they brought their nose down to get to the food. But yeah, here's a little pipe that probably would have given them water to drink. So yeah, it was fascinating having a look around in a pig farm, in a piggery. Yeah, especially while it's such a state of decay. Yeah, because by the time of filming, I think the whole property had been abandoned for over 20 something years. You can do the exact maths. I'm just sort of flying by the seat of my pants here with the audio. But yeah, very, very, very destroyed. Yeah, it was interesting, to say the least. We're gonna have, what are we looking at here? Oh yeah, now we're going. Yeah, sorry, these clips are a little bit all over the shop, but it's just sort of how it all came together. You can see the roof's collapsed here. Now, I remember in the article they mentioned a basement. They locked her in the basement. I never found a basement. I don't know if maybe it was underneath this pig farm, because later on, I'll point it out, there's like this machine outside and then there's like this little dip that goes underneath. I don't know if that was the basement. Maybe that was just where the wastewater ran out, because you can see there's grates here. I don't know. I don't know where the basement was. I never found it. But yeah, there's like a little hole on this building, and then they had a septic tank. No, they couldn't be talking a septic tank. No clue, but you know, I'm not sure. But yeah, here's the old like little sow stall things. So I guess the sow would have stood in the middle, and then there's like little hold on, we get a better shot of it. There's like little dividery things, so I guess the piglets can just stay on either side and just drink the milk. But not maybe get squashed by the sow when it wants to sit down. There you go. See, there's the little dividery things I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Not really too sure what to say, guys. I'm just doing an audio. But yeah, it was very chilling walking around this place. I didn't do a commentary on the day, hence why you're hearing me now. I don't know. It was kind of eerie. I don't like, everyone, a lot of people say it was haunted and it's just like really spooky and stuff. Like I was just more unsettled. I wasn't like, getting freaked out or anything. It was just like, yeah, it's kind of a weird place, weird history. It's a bit, yeah, because I'm not like super into paranormal stuff or anything like that. But I think we're about to, see how that goes down there underneath that machine. Don't know if that's the basement. I think that was just like a wastewater thing. Yeah, not too sure. If you guys know where the basement was, let me know in the comments, because I couldn't find it. Yeah, and if you guys ever went here, let me know as well. I'd love to hear stories from this place. Yeah, it was definitely off the beaten path. Yeah, so now, where is it? Where it's about to happen. So obviously, as I said earlier, we've been in this place exploring for 4 hours because I wanted to be super thorough. And unfortunately, when you stick around someone else's private property for 4 hours, they might rock up. The farmer who owns it busted us mid-explore. I don't know if they saw me here in the piggery, but I believe that, well, I know they caught Floyd off near the house. So anyway, now I'm just getting some final shots and we're just pretty much getting the heck out of there. the farmer like didn't call the police or anything. You can see there's some sheep, so they're probably like herding the sheep around with their ute, and they're like, what the heck are these tourists doing here? Anyway, they were not impressed that we're there, but they're always having people having a look at the place. So yeah, they weren't surprised, but we left immediately. So yeah, this is me just getting the heck out of there, and then I meet up with Floyd, and we basically just evacuate. Yeah, see, here's Floyd. He's just explaining the whole story. The guy, yeah, slightly angry, but he calmed down. Yeah, we just got the heck out of there. I like to just comply. If I ever get caught, I just comply. I'm not trying to do anything dodgy. I'm just filming. So, you know, for history, because this is now gone. Yeah. So yeah, we just sort of skedaddled out of there, and yeah, it was definitely an interesting explore, a very somber explore, and you know, a very sad explore. You know, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Yeah, bibliography here. Yeah, check out some of those links if you want. I'll put them in the description. It'll be a bit more user friendly. But anyway, hope you liked the video. I hope you found it interesting. Yeah, very, very grim, but very interesting. I've been wanting to put this video out for many, many years. I've just never gotten around to it. But I hope it was worth the wait, everyone. Let me know in the comments what you think of the video, of the whole thing. If you enjoyed the video, I recommend liking it. It helps this video get out to other people who haven't seen it before. So yeah, yeah, I don't really know what to say. I'm just grateful you watched it, and yeah, thank you very much.